In this podcast episode, journalist Piers Morgan shares his thoughts on the Israel-Palestine conflict, politics in the US and the UK, and various other topics. Piers Morgan has focused extensively on covering the Israel-Palestine conflict since the October 7th Hamas attack, which he describes as one of the worst things he's seen in nearly 4 decades of journalism. He realized the scale and repercussions would be enormous, similar to 9/11. Morgan has tried to approach the issue as an objective journalist, avoiding partisan camps and going after both sides when he feels their arguments are flawed. He acknowledges this is challenging in today's environment, where extremists on both sides dominate the conversation. Morgan believes the conflict is one of the most complex moral stories he's ever covered, calling it a quandary with no simple answers or analysis. He asks all guests to condemn Hamas's October 7th attack before having further conversation. While he initially supported Israel's right to defend itself, he quickly became concerned about the scale of Israel's response and potential war crimes. He questions Israel's endgame and lack of plan for after the war ends. Morgan sees the conflict as deeply rooted in the events of 1948 and the unresolved issues between Israel and Palestine. He notes the fear on both sides, Israelis terrified after the brutal Hamas attack, and Palestinians in Gaza living in constant fear. He believes there can be no future for Gaza that involves Hamas leadership, but also thinks Netanyahu and right-wing members of his cabinet need to go. Morgan draws parallels to Northern Ireland, where ultimately a political settlement was needed. He argues Palestinians must be given equal rights and a chance to self-govern properly, not under a terror group. Morgan believes new leadership is needed on both sides to achieve peace, similar to how major figures like Tony Blair and Bill Clinton helped broker peace in Northern Ireland. He sees the conflict revealing deep divisions within Western societies as well. Regarding U.S. politics, Morgan believes Trump is likely to win the 2024 election. He senses the same feeling he had in 2016 of a train steaming through Middle America that the coasts weren't aware of. Morgan thinks the weaponization of the justice system against Trump by the left has backfired, making him more popular and helping him raise huge sums of money. Morgan is critical of the criminal case against Trump over the Stormy Daniels affair, seeing it as overreach that most moderates and independents will view as pointless. He believes weaponizing the justice system in this way is dangerous and risks turning America into a banana republic. While acknowledging Elon Musk as brilliant and well-intentioned, Morgan disagrees with allowing figures like Alex Jones back on social media platforms. He believes there should be limits on free speech, particularly for those deliberately spreading harmful lies. Turning to UK politics, Morgan expects the Conservatives to suffer a massive defeat in the upcoming election, potentially losing many cabinet members. However, he doesn't sense the same enthusiasm for Labour leader Keir Starmer as there was for Tony Blair in 1997. Morgan sees Starmer as decent and hardworking, but somewhat boring. He questions where Labour will find money to implement policies, given Starmer has ruled out many revenue streams. Morgan is critical of Nigel Farage, calling him a treacherous little worm for allegedly trying to sabotage Morgan's interview with Trump. While acknowledging Farage's impact, Morgan sees him as a flamethrower who ignites issues, then runs away. He doubts Farage can fix the problems he highlights. Morgan predicts Labour will win by a historic margin, which he believes they will have thoroughly deserved due to Conservative incompetence. He blames Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and Rishi Sunak for squandering the Conservatives' 2019 majority through various missteps. Morgan expects the Liberal Democrats to do surprisingly well, potentially winning 60-plus seats. On his own voting intentions, Morgan says he honestly doesn't know yet. He has voted for both major parties in the past and believes in the importance of voting. However, he finds it difficult to choose between the current options. Morgan wants to see more detailed examination of Labour's policies before deciding. Morgan expresses concern about Labour's stance on trans issues, particularly Starmer's past equivocation on defining what a woman is. While acknowledging Starmer has moved closer to a biological definition, Morgan worries about the impact on women's rights and sports. He sees this as a major issue and questions whether Starmer can stand up to wackos in the Labour Party on such matters. When asked what important issue isn't being discussed enough, Morgan jokingly mentions Arsenal's need for a new striker. On a more serious note, he suggests people should examine Farage's statements about Putin, money taken from Russia Today, and views on the Ukraine war. Morgan questions whether Farage is the right person to defend the country. Throughout the interview, Morgan emphasizes the complexity of many issues, from the Israel-Palestine conflict to domestic politics. He advocates for nuanced understanding and criticizes tribalism and extremism on all sides. Morgan positions himself as an independent voice, willing to challenge and interview figures across the political spectrum, even if it leads to criticism from various quarters.